have you ever stopped, like
Yeah.
really stopped to think about something as simple as a fork or a spoon? I mean, these things we use every single day. How could that become, a marvel of engineering? We're talking smart tech here. Utensils designed to literally fight against shaking hands to stop food from spilling.
It's a fascinating field, really. It shows how technology and empathy can come together. It makes a real difference in people's lives in ways maybe we don't always consider.
Absolutely. So today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, this amazing crossroads of science, tech, and, well, human compassion. Self-stabilizing eating utensils. We've looked at a whole range of stuff for this product reviews, medical info from places like Healthline, Medical News Today. We even found this great presentation by a young innovator from India. Really powerful personal story there.
Yeah, and our mission really is to unpack how these devices actually work. Who are they helping? And maybe what does this tell us about where assistive technology is heading? It's kind of a quiet revolution, isn't it? Changing lives, one meal at a time. It's about independence, dignity.
Yeah, dignity, that's a huge part of it. We've touched on the power of these things, but let's back up a sec. We should probably start with the core problem they solve. So first big question. What challenges do people with hand tremors, say from Parkinson's, actually face when eating? Try and put yourself in their shoes for a moment. Imagine your hand just won't stop shaking. Every meal becomes this huge effort, right? A battle.
It's a really important place to start because, Parkinson's disease affects a huge number of people, over 1 million in the US, around 100,000 in Canada. And for most of them, we're talking maybe 70 to 100%. Tremors are a major, major issue. It's not just a little shake. So, okay, spilling food is the obvious physical problem, but what else? What are the broader impacts of that struggle?
Well, the sources we looked at paint a pretty clear picture. It goes way beyond just making a mess. There's this really heavy emotional toll. Suddenly you're depending on others for something basic. You might feel like a burden. And then there's the social side, right? Feeling embarrassed at family dinners or when you're out. That young innovator we mentioned, Aravinel, he talked about seeing his uncle struggle with Parkinson's, said he felt deeply dissatisfied. That feeling, that empathy, that's what pushed him.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? We just pick up a fork, don't even consider it. But for so many people, it's a constant daily challenge. It absolutely does. And it shows how important these maybe seemingly small advances can be for just daily life, for well-being. That emotional weight, the psychological side, can be just as tough as the physical difficulty, maybe even tougher. Think about the sheer mental energy needed just trying to control that shaking, the fear of spilling, the fatigue. These things often get missed, but they're central to why these tools matter so much.
Okay, so given how tough that is, let's move to the next question. What kinds of adaptive eating utensils were available before this smart tech came along? What did the traditional solutions look like?
Right. So traditionally, the approach was more about modifying the physical utensil itself, trying to compensate through mechanics. So you'd see things like weighted handles. Bunmo is one brand that makes those. The idea was make it heavier, add inertia, maybe it'll shake less. But it's tricky. Some people find them helpful, sure. But we saw one study suggesting that sometimes lighter utensils actually worked better for Parkinson's patients.
Lighter? That seems counterintuitive. Why?
Well, think about it. A heavy utensil takes more effort to lift and move. Over a whole meal, that can cause fatigue, or sometimes even make the tremor worse because of the extra strain. So yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword.
Interesting. Okay, so besides weight, what else was common?
You also had wide built-up handles, often with textures like non-slip grips or ribs. Those were more about improving the grip for people with weakness, making it easier just to hold on. Or even simple things like foam tubing you could slide over your regular fork or spoon handle. It just makes it thicker, easier to grasp. Good basic steps, but still passive,
And it wasn't only about the fork or spoon itself, was it? People adapted the whole dining setup.
Exactly, yeah. You have to look at the bigger picture, the whole experience. So other tools came into play. Things like straps or cuffs. You could attach the utensil right to the hand so you wouldn't drop it, or utensils that could swivel or bend. The idea was to keep the food part level, even if the hand was shaking or coordination was off. Less spills that way.
And the plates and bowls, too.
Right. Sloped plates. Bowls with high rims. Gives you a sort of wall to push the food against when you're scooping, makes it easier. For drinks, weighted mugs, cups with special handles, and things like non-slip mats were really key to keep everything from sliding around. Even special knives, like rocker knives for one-handed cutting. All these things aimed to help, to give back some control. But they were mostly working around the tremor, not actively stopping it.
Right. They managed the symptoms, but didn't really tackle the tremor itself.
Precisely. And that's the gap where this modern smart technology really steps in.
Okay, so this leads us perfectly into the really high-tech stuff. We've seen the traditional aids, helpful but limited. So the big question now, how does this cutting-edge technology make utensils self-stabilizing? How do they actually fight a tremor? This is where it gets really interesting.
It really is. What's happening here is this amazing mix of advanced engineering and real-time computing right in your hand. Take the Liftware study. This came out of Lift Labs, which is now part of Google. It's like a mini computer in a handle. It has the computer plus 2 small motors. And they use what they call active cancellation of tremor technology.
Active cancellation, so like noise-canceling headphones, but for movement.
Exactly like that. It has sensors that detect the direction and the size of the tremor instantly. And then, super fast, it tells the motors to move the spoon or fork attachment in the exact opposite direction.
Wow.
Yeah, so it effectively cancels out the tremor, acts like a really smart shock absorber, neutralizing the shake before it spills the food.
That is incredible, like a tiny robot in your hand fighting the tremor second by second. What kind of results did they see?
The pilot study was pretty impressive. It showed a reduction in tremor amplitude, that's the size of the shake, by about 71 to 76% during tasks like holding it, lifting food.
76%, that's huge. That must make a world of difference.
Oh, absolutely. Think about that mental effort we mentioned, the constant focus on not spilling. This tech helps lift that burden, let someone just, eat, enjoy a meal again. It's mainly designed for mild to moderate tremors. And you can swap out the ends at different spoons, a fork, so it's versatile too.
Truly revolutionary stuff. Is Liftware the only one doing this, though? Or are there other innovations popping up, maybe pushing things even further?
That's a great question, and it shows how fast things are moving. Liftware was a pioneer, but no, they're not alone now. There's another one called the GNO Parkinson spoon. It uses a slightly different approach, an intelligent algorithm. It claims it can offset about 85% of unwanted tremors. And the clever part is, it supposedly learns to tell the difference between your intentional movement, like lifting the spoon to your mouth, and the involuntary tremor.
So it only cancels the shake, not your actual movement.
That's the idea, yeah. To allow for more natural eating motion while still stabilizing. And then there's that project from India we mentioned, from Aravinil's team, as Robo Electra Steam Studio, their smart spoon.
Right, the student innovator.
Yeah.
What's their tech like?
It's really impressive, combining mechanical design, electronics, software. The core is something called an IMU, an inertial measurement unit.
An IMU, like in a drone or a smartphone?
Exactly. It's packed with sensors. Accelerometers for linear movement, magnetometers for direction, gyroscopes for rotation, tiny sensors telling the device exactly how it's moving in 3D space. All that data gets fed constantly to a little microcontroller. And that microcontroller runs what's called a PID algorithm. You can think of a PID algorithm like the cruise control in your car or a really smart thermostat.
Okay. Maintaining stability.
Precisely. It constantly monitors the spoon's orientation based on the IMU data, and then it sends super precise commands to 2 motors. These motors compensate for both roll, that's the side-to-side tilt, and pitch, the up and down movement. The goal is to keep that spoon bowl perfectly level with the ground, no matter how the handle shakes. They're specifically targeting tremors in the 2 to 7 hertz range right now. That's the most common frequency band for Parkinson's and essential tremor. So really specific engineering.
Wow, that level of detail, keeping it parallel to the ground, that's amazing, especially coming from a student-led team. Okay, so we see how they work. But let's zoom out again. What's the broader impact here? Beyond just eating more easily, what do smart utensils mean for patient independence, for their dignity, and even maybe for healthcare overall? Are these really game changers?
Yeah, connecting it to that bigger picture, the impact on independence, on dignity, it's massive. It's hard to overstate, really. It's not just about less mess. It's regaining control, eating on your own terms, reducing that social anxiety, feeling less like a burden, that feeling of liberation, getting that autonomy back. That can completely change someone's quality of life. But like you said, it might go beyond the individual user. Aravinil's team, for example, they have bigger plans. They're looking at machine learning.
Machine learning in a spoon. How would that work?
The idea is the spoon could actually learn the specific patterns of your tremor over time and automatically adapt its cancellation algorithm to be even more effective for you personally.
Whoa. A personalized anti-tremor spoon.
Exactly. And they're also talking about using the Internet of Things, IoT, logging that tremor data frequency, amplitude, maybe sending it securely to the cloud.
Why would they do that?
Well, imagine doctors having access to that continuous real-world data. Not just snapshots from clinic visits, but objective data on how a tremor is progressing day to day, collected during a normal activity like eating. That could be invaluable for tracking disease progression, adjusting treatments for conditions like Parkinson's. It could even feed into larger research efforts.
So the spoon becomes a diagnostic tool too, almost.
Potentially, yeah. It could really shift how we monitor and manage neurological conditions, from just occasional checks to like continuous background monitoring. That's a huge potential shift.
That sounds like it can completely change things. Okay, but with tech this advanced, this potentially transformative, you always have to ask the practical questions. So what about things like cost, accessibility, and just how easy are they to actually use every day? Are they practical for the people who need them most?
Absolutely crucial question. Because the best tech in the world doesn't help if people can't get it or use it. So, cost. The Liftware starter kit is around $295 US, which, is an investment. But compared to maybe ongoing caregiver costs or just the value of independence, many people might see that as worthwhile. But affordability is a big focus for Aravinil's team in India. They're aiming to sell their spoon for about 8,500 Indian rupees.
And how does that compare?
That's significantly cheaper, less than half the price of the US competitor. That kind of pricing could make this technology accessible to a much, much wider group of people globally. That's a huge deal.
Definitely. A massive difference in accessibility.
How would they...
But beyond price, what about using them? Are they intuitive? Is there a learning curve?
Ease of use is critical, yeah. People won't use it if it's too complicated or fiddly. Liftware's handle, for instance, it's designed to be ergonomic, but some reviews mention the smooth finish can be a bit tricky for some grips. And experts like Lindsay from EquipMu, who reviews assistive tech, they stress something important. These aren't magic wands. They're not, a silver bullet.
Right. Takes practice.
Exactly. Users need some patience, some time to adapt, to really get the hang of it and make it part of their routine. It's a tool that assists, doesn't completely take over. And looking ahead, Aravinil's team is thinking about mass production using injection molding, making them more durable. They're also looking at silicone covers to make them waterproof. Practical improvements. And the need is definitely growing. Just look at Parkinson's rates in Canada alone. They expect a 50% increase by 2050, mostly due to the aging population.
50% increase?
Yeah, so the demand for effective assistive technologies like these, it's only going up. That provides a strong push for more innovation in this space.
So wrapping things up today, what we've really unpacked goes way beyond just fancy cutlery, doesn't it? These smart utensils are really powerful tools. They're blending robotics, AI, and this really thoughtful, empathetic design, all to give back independence, give back dignity, one mouthful at a time. From established players like Liftware to these incredible student projects like Aravinil's, technology is literally reshaping a fundamental human activity, making life accessible again.
It's a genuinely exciting moment for assistive tech, and maybe for how we think about everyday objects in general. Think about it. That small spoon stabilizing itself, born from just wanting to make a meal easier for one person, could that be a sign of something much bigger? A future where the objects around us aren't just passive tools, but maybe intelligent extensions of ourselves, continuously monitoring health, adapting to our needs. It kind of blurs the lines, doesn't it, between assistive tech and this deeply personalized, maybe even predictive, healthcare woven into daily life.
That's a really fascinating thought to add on. So maybe next time you're eating, just take a second. Look at your fork, your spoon. An everyday thing. Could that object or something else you use without thinking be transformed by smart technology? Could it solve some hidden, frustrating problem for someone? We hope this deep dive got you thinking about the incredible potential for innovation that's all around us, often hiding in plain sight.